It's Ken Harbaugh with the Midas Touch Network. Donald Trump just met the leader of a domestic terrorist organization. It wasn't caught on video, so we have to rely on firsthand accounts, but many are reporting this, and the president isn't denying it. A few days ago, the leader of the Proud Boys, Enrique Tarrio, received an invitation to Mar-a-Lago, and while there, had an exchange with Donald Trump in which the president is claimed to have said, "I love you guys." I know we've reached the point where things like this just fade into the background noise, but imagine if the leader of any other country, or even a previous American president, had an encounter like this with an individual who tried to overturn a democratic election in that country. That's what the Proud Boys did on January 6th. That's what Donald Trump enabled them to do when he ordered them to stand back and stand by. And this is a crucial point. That is what he's preparing for again. Chris Goldsmith explains why this meeting between Trump and Tarrio in Mar-a-Lago is as much about the future as it is about the past. Here's our conversation. I've got Chris Goldsmith back with me today. He's the founder of Task Force Butler and Veterans Fighting Fascism. His job is tracking and holding extremists accountable. Chris, I wish we had video of this encounter at Mar-a-Lago because this is a visual medium, but I'm just trying to imagine the president of the United States meeting with the leader of a terrorist organization and saying, according to multiple reports, "I love you guys." How do
Yeah.
you react?
In a way, I'm glad that this is happening because, like we've spoken about before, like I believe that a justice-focused Democratic Party can use these things as evidence of criminality. Because I expect for Donald Trump to encourage further terrorist attacks. And I'm glad you used the word terrorist because that's what the Proud Boy organization is. Not just to our Canadian allies, who on a federal level have declared them to be an international terrorist organization, but also they should be considered terrorists to Americans because they were involved in an attempted coup, which would have involved assassinations. That's what January 6th was. That was an effort not just to end our democracy by bashing down doors. It was an attempt to end our democracy by cutting off the head of the snake and getting rid of the Democrats, right? So the fact that that Enrique Tarrio can make it onto a Trump property owned by the president of the United States, which I don't know if this White House, this administration has done it yet, but they used to call it the Winter White House, right? If a member of a terrorist organization is welcomed into that president's sphere, I think that makes a strong case for our allies overseas to look at this and to recognize that Donald Trump is a security threat at home for us and abroad. Because if he were meeting with the head of Al Qaeda or ISIS and having them over for dinner, I don't think that our allies would be very comfortable with that. And that's the way that they should look at this incidental meeting.
And this isn't just about January 6th and the apologies being made. More than apologies, I mean, we're now paying the insurrectionists for the supposed hardships they endured. It's about
Hmm.
a forward looking, it's a hedge by the president should he need these people again. I remember back during the debate when he told the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by. I mean, alarm bells went off in our world, but a lot of people were saying, he doesn't really know who they are or what they do.
Hmm.
I think there's no doubt now that he sees them as a kind of private militia, a hedge should he need to resort to violence and repeat what happened on January 6th if he ever needs to stay in power or ensure that a Democratic vote doesn't go the way he doesn't want it to.
Yeah, and the idea of the deputization of these extremist organizations, it has historical parallels. The SS didn't form when the Nazi Party formed. They had the brown shirts. They had a fascist street gang. that then became deputized, that then became an official arm of their government in Nazi Germany. That is precisely the role that the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys are playing today. They are the violent enforcers of the current administration. They are the ones who are able to engage in acts of violence that would be to Americans intolerable if it were coming from the government, but explainable if it's coming from something that's not the government, right? So this is how fascism happens. This is how authoritarianism looks as it's growing, as it's blooming.
There's not enough men like me who do whatever they want.
Are you sick of it yet?
Those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty.
The anger,
I live like a capitalist every single day, Shank. I live as a capitalist.
the hate,
And we have a system of checks and balances. That's a good one. That's really funny. We do?
the idea that to be a man, you have to be a bully. Fuck you! We should be better than this.
Females don't have independent thought. They don't come up with anything.
Our kids deserve better than this.
It's like women want equal rights when it's convenient, but then they still want the door open for them.
So help us change it. Subscribe to Valor Media Network, where you can find shows on sports, men's health, and patriotism without the resentment and division.
True strength is about discipline, resilience, and service.
If you've wondered where all the positive role models are, especially for young men, check out Navy SEAL Dan Barkov and Commander Bobby Jones as they share stories of service and sacrifice.
Being good at being a man is about what you do for others and not what you do for yourself.
Listen to Jason Tander and co-hosts Ravi Gupta and Adisu Demisi give you the inside track on the politics of sports.
I just want to take back what I said about the Bills. No, because in all honesty, your team seems to have gotten the vaccination thing right.
Okay.
My team seems to be struggling with it.
These shows and many more from Valor Media Network prove that you don't have to be an asshole to connect with young men today. Subscribe to Valor Media Network today.
I just got off the phone with a friend who said something kind of really eye-opening to me, and the phrase that he used was that fascism or totalitarianism, when it comes, it doesn't announce itself. It comes and sneaks in as it is and grows in strength, and that is what we're seeing with a leader of a terrorist organization being a welcomed guest at the so-called Winter White House.
And we cannot overestimate the value of a gesture like this to the morale of this organization in particular and the violent extremist movement writ large. I mean, what must they be thinking now to see their members not only released from prison, but lionized, welcomed to the Winter White House, in some cases receiving massive checks? I'm sure what they're taking from that isn't, all right, let's go retire and call it a win. They are planning for stage 2.
Yeah. So around this time of year, we're recording this in May. People in my industry of threat analysts, of researchers, are preparing for June. June is Pride Month. We're going to see World Pride, in DC. Actually, the same day that we're having our rally for the Unite for Veterans. I am expecting for these extremist organizations to be more confrontational than they have in the past, because they now understand that they're living in a permissive environment, an environment where their leaders have already been pardoned, much like Hitler pardoned his brown shirts when he got into power. How they will be allowed to use violence as police are deliberately pulled back or not deployed when they should be to keep people safe. So, I want for people to understand that what we are about to experience this summer is predictable. We, here in the United States and around the world, we have what you can think of as a fighting season. the same way that soldiers and Marines experienced in Afghanistan for the better part of 2 decades. When it's warm out, when it's nice out, things get hotter, things get kinetic. That's when people protest, right? Students right now are taking their finals in college. They are busy. They are tied to their campus. In just a little while, there's going to be a lot of college students coming home who are politically active, who are going to be motivated. You're going to have, frankly, just better weather for standing outside. So we are going to see bigger and bigger protests, and they are going to be met with violence from police forces and from extremist organizations. So I want to encourage folks to visit my organization's website, taskforcebutler.org. And on the top of the page, you will see resources. And in there, we have free manuals that you can use to learn how to document extremist organizations on the ground when they show up at your protest. We can't take all of that information from you. We're too small of an operation. But for folks who are learning how to document these things, you can work with your local district's attorneys or your local anti-fascist activists, and you can make sure that you get justice if these extremist organizations engage in law-breaking activity.
We'll put all the links in the show notes in addition to your On Offense Substack page. Highly recommend that to anyone who wants a regular update on the state of affairs in fighting fascism. Chris, thanks as always for joining us. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, brother.